recorded.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So, well, hello, everybody. I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar about the new rules 2022-2024 that will be conducted by Rosie Teymans, the president of the TC of acrobatics in FIG. Thank you very much for being here with almost all your TC. I know it's you take of your time to do this, but it's very important at that moment of the year. I also would like to thank European Gymnastics because they allow us to do this kind of meeting, and also at the very latest. European Gymnastics is always very supportive to the development of acrobatics. So thanks to Farid Gaibov for this, and also to all the staff that have been really reactive to set up this webinar here. The number of registrations for this webinar that was sent only 3 days ago is amazing, because we have 360 persons that would like to participate to this webinar. So it just shows how much the acrobatics community is willing to share the knowledge in acrobatics. So thanks again, Rosie, and all the TC for this. I will just give a few reminders of how it will occur, and then I will give the floor to Rosie, of course. Just that this webinar is recorded now. It will be held in English. If you want to review it, it will be on the YouTube channel of European Gymnastics within the next few days. Regarding the number of participants, Rosie will explain to you how we will do, but it's going to be very difficult to answer all questions. So you don't have the microphone for all the participants, but you have the Q&A section, so you can write your question on this, and then the TC will help Rosie to make the access to this question and the possible answers during this webinar. So, well, thanks again, Rosie, and now I give you the floor.
Thank you, Karine. Also, my thanks to European Gymnastics just to allow this webinar on very short notice, and that they're so supportive. I'm really happy that I can give this webinar also to Europe. I did it already a few months ago for Africa. I did it for Oceania. I did it on last Friday for Pagu, America, Canada, and I did it Saturday morning for Asia. So now it's Europe. So it means that I can share the same information to all 5 continents, and that's really important for me, because as a discipline, of course, in Europe, we are really have a very good development, and many countries are participating at world level, but we need also to develop the other continents, and we need to help them, and it's really important that we grow in the 5 continents. So I'm sorry, I receive okay. Bernardo and Wisława are not Karine. They can just see me, and they cannot get in like Yuri and Frank. I'm just telling you.
I will contact them now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so because we are so many, it's already 230 people, 228 who are in the webinar now. So of course we cannot give a lot of times you the floor as a participant. I will work in the same way like I did in the other continents. I go to PowerPoint 1. I go quite fast in these PowerPoints where I just explain what's going on, what are the changing, then the tariff sheets, then 11 till 16. And after each PowerPoint, we look at questions about that PowerPoint When there's no important questions, we go immediately to the next PowerPoint, so we can spend the most of the time on difficulty, artistry, and execution, because that's what we need. I feel really sorry that we don't have live courses, that we miss already for 3 years now, the third year now, because of the pandemic. Live judges instructions meetings. Also in Baku, again, it will be online. And I really hope that later this cycle we can catch up, because we need sit together and judge together and have live sessions on the judging, so we understand how we come up with a score and why. So thank you for joining us, and I'm going to share the first PowerPoint with you. So the first change, it's not in the code of points, it's in the technical regulations, but many of you will already know that 11 till 16 is not taking part at world level anymore. So we don't organize it anymore on the level of FIG, so the world level. Why? Some continents and some countries are quite disappointed, but I think it is really important that gymnasts should stay around a little bit longer than only the level 11 till 16. And too many people think that they are a world champion when they win in 11 till 16. And they're not. It's an age group. They're not world champion. At least everybody who wants to perform and take part in a competition at world level, they have to stay till 12, 18, and hopefully till they are junior. And then we will have more teams that will stay till they are seniors and coming to the real world work. So also the format of the competition will be completely different. For many years, coaches were asking why artistic can have so many medals, why rhythmic can have so many medals, and we only one. Finally, we will also have more medals. So the format of the competition will be, there will be qualifications for balance and for dynamic, but you can also take part in only one of them. So it's not necessary to do both. If you do both, balance and dynamic, the top 8 or 10, depending on the number that takes part in the competition, can go to the combined final. So it's a big change. Not everybody can do their combined routine anymore. It's a bit like at World Cups or even the World Games, where the finalists only perform their combined routine. So if there's 15 or more participants in balance plus dynamic, 10 go to a final. Otherwise, if it's less, only 8. Then we will have finals for balance. That's the top 6 or 8. So when we have 12 or more participants in the balance qualifications, then we have 8 going to the final. Otherwise, it will be only 6. The same system applies for dynamic. So we're gonna have medals for the combined finals. We're gonna have a world champion in balance, and we're gonna have world champions in dynamic. So now we're gonna talk about the changes in the code of points. There's not so many changes here. These are the CJP penalties. We deleted 4 of these penalties, and some of them are a little bit adjusted. Please pay attention to that and make sure you know it. Because not everybody will be CJP at world level, but many of you will be CJP in your own country and at internationals. Then there was already a question coming in very fast when we published the first version of the Code of Points in 21. Article 11.12. What does it mean? Sign all the ordered exit of the judges. It just means that the CJP is the boss, and he says when you can go to the table, sit on your chair, and when you can stand up and leave, and by what way. So that's what it means. It's only saying that the CJP will guide the judges on the podium and off the podium. Then Article 16.1, it's talking about the 1 second increment before there is a penalty. Very important here, it's in red, there is no 2 second tolerance anymore. So we only have that 1 second increment. That means when you exercise can be 2 minutes 30. When it's 2 minutes 30.99, there is no deduction. As soon that it says 31, there is 0.1 deduction. So in real life and in real time, the penalty is starting from 31. So you have 1 second less tolerance. The DJ, this is also an important one. The deduction for wrong tariff sheet can only be applied when the order of the elements is wrong. So not for when there is a different element, not when there is a wrong element. Nothing can give a penalty of 0.3 for the tariff sheet, except when the order is not correct. And about the order, there is also something new. So you have Article 38.6, you have 2 options. The first part of the article is the same as always. So the pair and group elements must appear first, and the last 3 boxes you can use for the 3 individual elements that you can do for difficulty. But now you also have the option to put the pair and group elements plus the individual elements in order. So the way they are coming up in the exercise, you can put them on the tariff sheet. And we will see that when we look at the PowerPoint about the tariff sheet. For execution judging, there is an additional 0.7 in Article 46.7. So when you have a stumble or a trip in any part of the exercise outside the elements, so when it's in choreography, you have, a stumble, it's also a deduction, and it can be depending on what and how it looks. It can be 0.3 and it can be 0.5. We also adjusted the 0.5 in the instability. So unintentionally putting one knee or one hand to the floor or on a leg, head or shoulder or against the partner, that's a deduction of 0.5. So because it's almost preventing a fall or a big mistake, so that's why it is a 0.5. Okay. Music, you probably know all that you can now have words, lyrics in every music, in every exercise. Also 11:16. So it's for all age groups and seniors, of course. The measurements, there is a small adjustment. The difference between partners allowed. Before it was 30 centimeters with the tolerance up to 30.99. We went down with 1 centimeter. So at least now The difference between partners must be less than 30 centimeters. So 29.99 is still no penalty. As soon as it is 30, there's a penalty. And that's also for all age groups. Of course, the deductions, the penalties are larger for the seniors than for 11 till 16, 12 to 18. Also new is the mounts. Every mount can only be performed one time, and that's in the Code of Points in Article 19.5 on page 20. It doesn't matter the position, the mount into different positions, doesn't matter. You can do it to straight handstand or to Mexican or to flag. It doesn't matter. We all consider them as the same. So you can perform a mount only one time. We also come back to that in the PowerPoint of difficulty. Transitional pyramids, big change. From now on, a top can be in a position of no value during a transition from one pyramid to another, from one base position into another. You know, it's only a transitional pyramid when you go from one box to another and from a 3-second into a 3-second. But the top can be in a position of no value. But the transition value will be given for the bases. This is one of the examples. So first pyramid value going with a roll, the top is rolling in the lap of the middle, going to the final position. So that's a typical example, and one of the reasons we changed this, because we lost this kind of pyramids completely. But this is a transitional pyramid, and going from 18 to 15, it's a 6th. Same for Mans 4. So first pyramid, the top is performing a planche. During the transition of the bases move to another box, to another position. The middle is going from standing on the shoulders to standing on the knees. While the bases are doing that, the top can sit on the shoulders of the third middle. And when they arrive, he can go to straddle position. Also here, there's no value for the top, but going from the 18 to the 14 is also a 6. They get it. The next article is creating some questions and doubts with a lot of people. The first version of the Code of Points from the tables of difficulty you received, we changed that a twist salto, that means the half twist before the salto, was changed from a back to a front to be in line with other disciplines and the whole thing. But we run into problems very fast. So because of our start positions and finish positions, that's why we decided that the half twist can be performed at any moment in the salto. That doesn't mean that it not has to be logical. So you have to look in what your start position is and what your finish position is. And so it's easy to determine if it's a back salto or a front salto. And we will spend more time on it. And I will publish in one of the first newsletters we will publish with the TC after we had a live meeting, a link with videos of examples when it's front and when it's back. So the TC will work on that. But at this moment, you can just choose. You go to the tables of difficulty and what fits your element the best, you take it. When you can find the value on back and front, you can choose the highest one. Another new issue Seniors, the people who are around already a long time, remember the time that men had to land without support. It's only last, I don't know how long, 16 years or so, that we allow everybody to catch a dismount. There was some desire of coaches to bring that back, but it's not a rule. You can choose to do that and you get additional value. We will talk about that again in the tables of difficulty PowerPoints. So, but landings without support are now allowed, but it's only for seniors. So, and only seniors will receive additional value. Also, it's not for the middle, because the middle is already doing that when he jumps from the basket when he throws the top. It's the top. When the top is landing without support in senior level, they get additional value, and we will talk about that later. There is also new exceptions. There is no restriction anymore to use the platform as a start positioning group. So you can do as many as you want, and all can be even the same. There's no restriction at all. Why do we do that? Because it's in groups. The dynamic elements from platform are the most spectacular ones. Not the ones like we call, I don't know the correct name, where the bases are pushing the bump and the top is turning like a screwdriver in between the partners. That are not the spectacular elements. There's no flight phase, there's no amplitude, there's no height. So we want to see very high, beautiful elements. That's why we don't want to limit by the special requirements and by the rule and by the restriction groups. So we want to see beautiful high elements as much as possible. In pairs, we also changed the rule. There can be 4 identical start points from half arm. That means that they can all be from half arm, because we are speaking about 4 identical. So 4 can be like this. Yes, but you can also be the other way around, and the handstand the other way. And they're all indicated on pages in the general rules in the beginning of the tables of difficulty as different. So in the end, all your elements can come from half arm for the same reason, because those elements fly much higher, especially in women's pair. So that's why we don't want to limit that completely. Individual elements, that's another change. 12, 18, they need to do 3 individual elements, but they can choose. They can be from any category in all exercises. So yes, when you want to ask me, can they do tumbling in balance? If they want, I would not do that as a coach, but they can. Can they do a split and a walkover in dynamic? Yes, they can. 13 to 19, there's no special requirement anymore for the individual elements. So it's the same rules as the seniors. They don't have to do it. So please only put individual elements when they're doing it really, really well, because otherwise we as judges deduct more than it's worth. Yes? A lot of questions about individual elements. Is it simultaneously or in waterfall? What waterfall is? Waterfall is just what it says. It means that the next partner have to start before the first partner stops. So the first partner starts with the individual elements and the next one starts before he's the first one is finished, and the third one is starting before the second one is finished. So it's non-stop. It's like the water in a waterfall, it never stops falling down. It doesn't fall all together, so that's simultaneously, but waterfall is one drop by the next, you know, without stopping. That means waterfall. This clip was not in your PowerPoint that's online, but you can find that in PowerPoint 16, one of the last elements. So it's the PowerPoint about individual elements. So that's where you can find this PowerPoint, and that means waterfall. A change about the tariff sheets, late tariff sheets, before you always, the gymnast received a 0.3 deduction. And our athletes representative really pointed out that many gymnasts, many of our athletes find that not fair, because it's never their fault that the tariff sheets are giving in too late. It's by special circumstances that it's too late, or it's the coach's fault, or it's the head of delegation's fault, but not the gymnast. So they felt it like really unfair that they had to pay the price. That's why we changed it, thanks to Mai. And now your national federation is going to get the bill. So you don't have to pay it, but your national federation will get the bill. And it's $100 for each missing tariff sheet in time. We also have to enter a rule when we don't have your tariff sheets 24 hours before the competition starts. Your pair or group is not allowed to take part in the competition. They cannot start. But in all special circumstances, imagine you are stuck somewhere on an airplane or an airport, and you don't get in time. There can always be the exception for special circumstances, and your tariff sheets can be accepted by email. So there's always an option to get them through. Also new is that in the balance exercise, you cannot put an or anymore. No alternative skill in balance exercise. In the dynamic exercise, you can put in one alternative element. And in the combined exercise, you can put in one alternative dynamic element. So not for balance elements, only for dynamic elements. What's also new is, for many years, we always had a deadline for new elements. And when you missed that deadline, sometimes it took a long time before you could perform that element. From now on, the TC ACRO will evaluate new elements at all the TC meetings. Now, when it's all online, we have TC meetings on a very regular basis. When we are going back, or be able to go back on live meetings, the TC will meet 3 times a year for 4 days. I'm sorry, my iPad is waking up and I don't know why. So from now on, at every TC meeting, we will evaluate your new elements, applications, and then we publish that in a newsletter. After publication, 6 months later, you can perform that at the competition. I think that's very clear, and it's also, you know, more workable for everyone, also for us, to deal with new elements. So that was the first PowerPoint about all the new, most important new things in the code of points and the tables of difficulty. Don't know if there are already questions, important ones that I have to answer now. probably the majority will be later dealt with in other PowerPoints. I'm just
Rosie,
waiting.
we already have in the Q&A section a question from Katarzyna.
Yes.
Of where to put the additional value for the lending without support.
It's coming up, but it's in Boxy. It's also published in the newsletter that was published now 2 days ago. So ACRO newsletter #1 is published, #1 of this cycle. And in that newsletter, it says where you have to write on your tariff sheet the lending without support. The box C was never used in the dynamic exercise, so now you can put there the lending without support.
There are 2 other questions on the Q&A section, Rosie. More coming. What do you want to do? Just answer all of them, or?
It's depending what it is.
Do you have access to the questions? So there was a question of 6 months later, why not at the same time as it is published? Question about the penalty for the alternative in balance. What penalty if there is a or? And
the one from 6 months. This is a rule. I don't know. I have to check that, why it is an FIG rule. I can bring it on the table, and when we are allowed to change that, I don't have a problem with it. I think it has to do with giving everybody the same option to receive the difficulty. So when something that's not in the book getting difficulty, everybody needs to have the option to learn that element or to do that element or whatever. I think it has to do with that, but we will certainly bring it to the table in our first TC meeting of this cycle. So thank you for bringing that up. What was it, the second one, Karin?
The second one is, well, there are 3 others. The second one is there a penalty if the or option is used for a balance element? Because you said the alternative are not allowed anymore in balance.
No, it's not allowed in.
But what is the penalty if that happens? That is the question.
By the rules now, you can you cannot put that on your tariff sheet anymore. And when you do it at world level, the DJs and the CJP who are checking the tariff sheet before competition will call you, and you will have to decide which one you take. It will not be accepted like that. And if there are 2, they will, scratch the second one when you are not available as a coach. You cannot put the alternative for balance anymore. But the DJs cannot give a deduction for 0.3 for wrong tariff sheet, that's for sure. But they do what they always do when they have questions concerning the tariff sheet. It's contacting the coach and deal with the question. Okay.
There was a question about the individual in 1218 and 1116, but I think you will answer that later with PowerPoint.
Okay, when it's not dealt with in the one of the next PowerPoints, we come back to that.
And last question, what will the DG do when the element is declared as without support, but support is given during the exercise?
That's coming up also, but I can already tell you it's the same as what we do with the legs together in the handstand. It's only taking this plus value, that box out. So the element is still counting, but the additional value that you put in your box C that you would receive for landing without support, that value is going out, but not the element. Okay.
Another question about individual in age groups, but maybe you answer after the.
Yes. Let's go to continue first. So tariff sheets. So the whole explanation about how a tariff sheet should look didn't change at all. So I don't have to spend a lot of time for that. All the IDs must be there. It must be indicating the 3 seconds, the direction of the dynamic elements, front or back, the number of rotation. So they have to be submitted at accreditation and for the finals after the qualification. This is the example that's already a long time in the tables of difficulty of the tariff sheet with the 3 boxes for individual elements, with a part of the information on top and the rest on the side. The other format that's also been used already a long time is with all the information on the right side. But there's a third one now in the next version that will be published next month of the tables of difficulty and the code of points, where all the mistakes and all the small things that were changed will be added. So the final version for the rest of the cycle will be published in February after the tests and all the newsletters. Is a tariff sheet where all the boxes run through till 27. So this is a tariff sheet you have to use when you decide to put all your elements, pair and group and individual, in the order that they come up in the exercise. So once more, sometimes we had difficulty judges who love to take the deduction for incorrect tariff sheet. Now it can only be when they can only do that for wrong order. When you use an unofficial or illegible format, the tariff sheet will be returned. So the DJ or the CJP invited by FIG, who's responsible for that competition, will just give the tariff sheet back and you have to redo it. It's a lot of work, but we don't care. You know it. It has to be the correct format. You need to know that also the ACRO companion format is accepted and approved by FIG and by the TC. This is exactly what I've said in the first PowerPoint. We don't have to repeat that. So this is new for the tariff sheet, that you can put them in the order. We did this one, so no problem. Alternative scale only for dynamic elements, not for balance elements. So for the tariff sheets, the drawings can be used out of the tables of difficulty. And for the 11 to 16 age group, it can be used from the tables of compulsory elements and the tables of optional elements. So, but this is for 11 till 16, yeah? 11 till 16, there's only a few boxes used. So the value for the static holds, so the ID, the coordinates for the static holds are put in box 1 and the value in box A. For the dynamic coordinates in box 2 and the value in box B. When they use the tables from the booklet from 11 till 16, that's now an attachment of the age group rules, because it's not part of our rules for competitions from FIG. They can just put the row on the first box and the row in the second box for dynamic. So first row is for balance elements and the second row is for dynamic elements. As you see, that will come up. There can be an OR for the body position in dynamic elements in 11 till 16. So for the optional elements, there's a few boxes more that can be used. And that's again the same static hold 1 and A, dynamic 2 and B. But for the static position and the motion of the base or the base pyramids, the value must be in C and the coordinates in 3. So it's really important. This is only 11 till 16. Here you have a few examples. I'm going to say this already, and I'm going to repeat it another 5 times because I want you to remember. Like you have here the 4 plus 4 from the 360 degrees. For your exam, you cannot do that because you can only enter one number in a box. It's a computer generated result. So you can put only one number. So you have to make the sum. It's coming up later again and again. So no further things here. These are examples from optional elements. Now we go to the 12, 18 and the juniors. Also in the exams, the majority are seniors in D1, in D2, in E and in A, but it's possible that sometimes there is a junior one, never 12, 18 one. Yes? So here we have all the boxes. So in balance, coordinates in 1, value in A. In the balance exercise, the mounts and motions from the top in 2, value in B. The statics and the motions of the base on the line of the base, of course, and values in C. Legs together in D. Yes? So make sure you know the right boxes because those top boxes, A, B, C, and D, it's the only thing you have to fill in. So you will never have to write all these coordinates. So it's only the boxes on top. We had to develop ourselves an exam that was possible online. So that's what we came up with, and you have to realize that. It doesn't mean that you, in the future, you don't have to write your coordinates anymore, but for your exam, it's not necessary. We will see that later. So this is the same for groups. So 1, static hold of the top, 2, mounts and motions of the top with values in B, 3, the base pyramids and the transitions, coordinates in 3, values in C, and D, again, top value for the plus value of legs together. And an example. Dynamic. And here you have to realize that, this is juniors and seniors. So for the seniors, C must be used for the landing without support. Yeah, so dismounts without support get value C. So 1 is not used. B is the value of the element. And in 2, the coordinates. 3 is now used. So we only decided that a few weeks ago, and it's published in your last newsletter number 1. It's now online on the FIG website. And D in dynamic is for the links. And you don't have to write page or ID or whatever, only the value. So here we have an example for pairs and an example for groups. Individual. I want your attention here. There was a mistake that I did here in the box of the flick flack. There was saying 111, it should be 222. So I don't know, it's possible that it's already corrected now in the STS also. I hope you all have access. I mean, all the judges and also all the candidate judges. People who want to become an international judge and are registered by their national federation should have received already an access code to check everything on the STS. So here, make sure you put it in the right box. So partner 1 in A, 2 in B, C in 3, partner 3 in C, and partner 4 in D. So very logical. So that was all about the tariff sheet. I don't think there will be a lot of questions about tariff sheet. I think it's all clear. Are there questions?
The questions are in the Q&A section. Q&A?
Yeah, I'm there. But
Yeah.
you know, it's all mixed. And when I have to read every time, everything, we're gonna lose a lot of time.
The new one is, there are two questions. One about individual elements not perform in waterfall, but in immediate or in immediate succession, but not joined together. What happens? What should we do as difficulty?
You know, that's a good question, but I can only say that the DJ or the CJP, that's what I would do. Tell the coach afterwards that he's stupid. It's really stupid when the rule is that you have to perform together or in immediate succession. They're not allowed to do it. I don't know. So when they do then choreography in between or whatever, then it should not count anymore. But you know, I don't understand why a coach should do that. I really don't understand. So it's important that also the coaches know the rules and that they inform the choreographers in a good way. So it has to be on the same time, on the same moment, and it can be, you know, synchron, or it can be in a waterfall. Something about the salto as individual element. No.
But there's a few questions, but it's regarding the age groups. So I'm sure you will answer this question.
Okay.
When you will do the age groups. There was just a question that for the exam, will there be a question, tariff sheet or exam on difficulty on 11-16 program?
No, 11 to 16, nothing. So, no. And also they need to know, I hope they realize there's no theory. Your exam will exist out of 4 parts. Part 1, D1, that's the difficulty, the job that a DJ is doing before a competition. Then the D2 is the exam on the job, what the DJ is doing during competition at the table. Then you have artistry, practical exam. So you judge exercises on artistry, and then you have execution. So you have to judge exercises on execution. That's all. So no theory exam, no questions, nothing with language. We kept it as simple as possible. And also remember, it's a pass or fail exam. So it means that, like you could read in your judges rules, they are online, the new specific judges rules and the general judges rules, that 60 is the passing mark. So when you have 60 for the current judges, they keep their category from last cycle. For the new judges, when you pass, you have your category 4.
There
Okay.
are 2 questions that are similar. Just to confirm, for the women's pair and women's group plus value, that this plus value of women's pair, women's group has to be added in box A?
Yes, when there is a plus value, you add it there where it belongs. Yeah. So the box where you normally write 4 plus 4 or 4 plus 2 or whatever, now you have to make the sum. But it's coming up. We will talk about it later. Okay, I think.
Yes, I think you can continue.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So very short PowerPoint on 11 till 16. Just, you know, it's not because of that FIG is not organizing that competition anymore that it's not important, because I really think it's the future for acrobatics. It's the only way that we can develop more countries and to start with international competition, but they should start at international competitions and at continental competitions and not coming straight to world competitions. We want to see them back in 12-18. So this is just the general things. So it's a separate document and you don't need the tables of difficulty for the 11 till 16 group. It's a separate document. And when you want to develop a new club, a new coach, a new country, you don't give them the tables of difficulty and the code of points because they will run away. It's too complicated. Let them start with the age group rules. It's a separate bundle, and that's why we did it that way. That's why it is developed that way. So they don't need it. So simple entries and exits don't have to be on the tariff sheet. Also, in 11 till 16, all exercises can have words in the music. For the compulsory elements, you know that the TC last cycle did a great job, and especially Irina and Yuri, in filming all the elements of the compulsory tables. Every element is being filmed, and there is a clip with an excellent execution of every element. So it's great for new countries or for new coaches to see how to get in, how to perform it, how it should look, and how to exit. These clips will be coming back available on the FIG website, but you know that's in a quite big format. Everyone who wants these clips in a smaller format, so you can use it easily on your phone or your tablets in the sports hall to show to the gymnast, just contact me and I will give you access to my Dropbox and you can download it from there. So there's no changes in the compulsory tables. All the elements are still the same. Just for everyone, when you want them, just contact me. So these are the allowed variation. So on that page on 31, but you don't need to specify the shapes of the element for the dynamic. So they can put all three when they use the elements and the pictures from these compulsory tables. It can be like this, and they can choose. They don't have to identify that. They are starting, give them some liberty. Yes. The special requirements, that's different. so you have to pay attention. So for pairs in balance and dynamic, they need to do 4 compulsory elements and 2 optional elements. For each missing element, they have a full point special requirement. And we need to do that because you never know, a team comes on the floor, the top first element, twist their ankle, they have to leave. When they have only 1 element and she twisted their ankle without falling, they will receive a very high technical score. That's not possible. So yeah, it is possible, but that's why we need to have the special requirements to have a fair competition. So that's why every element is important also in 11 to 16. The balance routine for groups, it's 2 compulsory pyramids and 1 optional pyramid, and also here 1 point special requirement for each missing pyramid. In dynamic is the same as in pairs. Individual elements. So also here, there was always so much to do about these individual elements and flexibility, balance, agility. One of them did not an agility, but did another element. And the points were going out so easy. So now they can choose. So it's a free choice out of the tables of flexibility, balance, and agility. They have to do 3, but they can choose. And in the balance exercise, a round-off does not count as an element. The dynamic element, these 3 individual elements need to come out of the tumbling table. This is, I don't know, maybe some people enter to the STS quite soon. Then there was still a mistake in this PowerPoint. It was different from what's in the code of points. So I corrected this. If not performed by 1 or more partners, there's a 1 point special requirement. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 element missing, 2 elements missing, by 1 person, by 2 persons, it doesn't matter. If that special requirement is not fulfilled, it's 1 point special requirement, not more. Yes, we want to reduce the impact of individual elements because we don't know why and we cannot put our finger on it, but it seems to be that judges focus much more what they have to do on individual elements than they do on pairing group elements. Pairing group elements, that's our discipline, that's acrobatics. So we want to take the focus away from individual elements. They can do it, they add something to an exercise, and also we think it's very important for the education of gymnasts that they are, you know, not only acrobats, but gymnasts. But, you know, the focus in the judging is too much on individual elements. Size deduction, we talked about that. The only thing that's changed, that there's a 29. It's now 29 instead of 30. So that's all for 11 to 16. Special questions on this one? I see here a question: are the stylistic variations present in the newsletters from the previous cycle valid for this new code of points? Yeah, you know, normally new cycle, new newsletters, new rules. But of course, there's a number of things that we're not going to clarify over and over and over again. So when an element is not there, and it was not there last cycle, but we clarified that that was considered as a variant, it's still a variant. Those things didn't change. Of course, when an element is not in the tables of difficulty anymore, and you consider this as a variant from that element, you can also not do the variant anymore. This must be, it's logical. We talk about it also when we talk about the tables of difficulty. I don't see any more questions. Do you see others that I need to answer?
There are still some questions about the salto.
The salto.
The salto required in.
It's not anymore. They can do it, but there's no requirement anymore. When it's not there, it's not a rule. So don't worry about it. They can choose 12, 18, 11, 16 have to do 3 elements. They need to do 3 elements out of the dynamic, out of the tumbling page, but it can be without salto. Of course, they can do salto, but they don't have to. And seniors and juniors don't have to do anything. When they do it, they have to do it well, otherwise we deduct. But they don't have to.
There is also a question regarding the individual. If on the tariff sheet, 3 elements are declared, like somersault, flick, and split, but they perform an additional round off before the somersault, for example.
It depends. You know, 3 elements is 3 elements. Don't play games and leave it like that. But of course, when you have in, when you know, for me, when you do round off straight to split, and because you can choose, it's counting. I put the rule in 11 till 16 that the round off imbalance was not counting because of that. But when you can do maximum 3 elements, don't push that rule. My God, I don't understand why you should. It's just to try to do more individual elements. You can only do 3 and finished. I see here a question, is there still a need to declare on the tariff sheet the music? No, the lyrics in the music. No, you don't have to do that anymore because it doesn't matter. You can use words, but you don't have to. So we don't need that box anymore with the declaration for the words. I think I took it out also on the tariff sheets. It's not there anymore. I took them out. So when you go take your tariff sheets from the back, from the tables of difficulty, and I'm sure that ACRO Companion will also delete that box because it's not necessary anymore and it doesn't have to announce it anymore. And the DJ cannot take a mistake. So 1 penalty less for the gymnast.
There is another question regarding transitional pyramid and the responsibility of the DG when there is a fall, but maybe it's for later.
That's not, yeah, that's not for now. Okay, thank you. So 12-18 and 13-19. So I start everywhere as much as possible to use the word juniors instead of age group 13-19. I do this on purpose. So people around the world, also especially outside acrobatics, realize that we have juniors and seniors. I'm fighting really hard, and that's what I will do this cycle to get junior world championships. So that's why I was allowed already to use the juniors also in our rules. I start. Okay, so in 12-18 and juniors, all the senior rules apply, but there's few things where there's difference. So the difficulty is limited, and it's different in 12-18 than in juniors. Also, there's a difference in the individual elements, and there is the exception 12-18, they still have to do 3. They can choose what, but they still have to do 3. And there is also different size deductions than in seniors. The difficulty is limited. These are no changes. It's exactly the same as the previous cycle, so I don't have to spend that time on that. Here, for 13-19, there is some difference. So it's in 12-18, we talked about it, individual elements for balanced, dynamic, and combined. It's a special requirement. Each partner have to do 3 elements, but a free choice out of all categories. If not performed, 1 point special requirement maximum. So there's another special rule, clarification for 12-18, and it's in 5.7. So in the balance exercise, pyramids with 2 bases on the floor, category 1, can be used 2 times in an exercise. And this is an example of that. And in 5.8, it clarifies that only 1 pyramid with 2 bases on the floor may be used for special requirements. However, difficulty credit may be given for 1 transitional pyramid with 2 bases on the floor, the same example as the previous slide, and for 1 separate pyramid construction with 2 bases on the floor. So they can get the difficulty for it, but only 2 can count for special requirement. The size deduction, again the same, 30 became 21. And then you have the deductions that didn't change. 13-19, here's something new. The difficulty for the combined routine went up. And why did we do that? Because these are juniors. When we have international competitions and we dream still that we can come back into the Youth Olympics, then our junior rules are counting. And the combined routine was because the coaches play safe, was the weakest exercise of all. The balance and the dynamic exercises were much stronger. That's why we raised the difficulty in the combined, so to get a more interesting final competition. Because remember, it's still balance and dynamic for qualifications, and the combined is the finals. So also this is new. There is no special requirement for the juniors anymore for 13-19. It's the same as seniors. They can do 3 for difficulty, and that's all. Something that was confusing a little bit, I'm sorry. Forbidden elements, the column of 3 high for women and for men. So this means 2 bases and 1 top for women. Oh my God, sorry for this. So 2 bases and 1 top for women's group is forbidden, and 3 bases and 1 top for men is forbidden. Size deduction, same, 29 instead of 30. So also that PowerPoint went fast, and we don't have to spend more time on it, except when you have new questions.
There was one question back on 11-16 to confirm that it can be different categories at the same time for the individual.
Yes.
for example, split and handstand at the same time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then still some questions about transition.
But we're coming to that, so
Yeah.
I will answer that question, those questions when we talk about it.
And the question, 3% height in trio, not allowed in all age groups. Just to confirm. The column.
That's I need to take, but I think that's the case. I'm just checking at this moment so I don't declare lies. I'm quite sure about it. The column of 3 high for women and men. Yeah. Yeah, also in 1319, it's forbidden. Yeah. Okay, then we go to the next tables of difficulty. So, general information. So the mounts in pair include the value of the static hold. So all the pages with the mounts, the static hold is included. The group balance, base positions, the format in women's group and men's group is the same. So the format in the tables is now the same for trios and for men's 4. They have separate pages, but the format is the same.
Rosie, we do not see your PowerPoint.
Oh, sorry, then I have to, yeah, okay. I need to go back, I'm sorry, and show. Thank you, I forget sometimes to share. I see it, so. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I need to. So this was this general information that I was talking about. Then you have the general rules. There's different pages in the general rules, and we talked there about all the forbidden elements and positions, the additional values and difficulties, all the restrictions, start and end positions, and the categories of handstand, footstand, and the miscellaneous. So elements with a minor stylistic variation are not considered as new elements. So you don't have to ask it. When it's, you know, it's in the same spirit and the same difficulty, you don't have to claim this as new elements. You can use the same identification number and the same value as existing elements. All figures that are in the same box, we consider as identical, even they are not. Elements that you can find in more than one place in the tables of difficulty, you can use the highest value. A wide arm handstand is not considered as a different element, but it receives a value +2. So you will have to choose, do I perform it normal or wide? You cannot have them both. The Russian lever by the top can only be performed with closed legs. We don't want it to be performed with open legs. Of course, a base can perform this Russian lever with open legs so the top can work on the feet. Then you have this page with additional value for static holds and mounts into a static hold. So once more, you get these plus values for the static hold, the 3 second, but also for mounts into a static hold. That's logical because the static hold is included. So all handstands performed with the legs together get a +1, but the legs must be together to the ankle. So when you bend one knee, then you don't get the plus value anymore because the legs are not together till the ankle. Also, all these plus values, you get them only when they are not in a separate bubble. It's not always consistent through the whole table. So when you have a separate box or a separate bubble for a certain position, you cannot add another one additional value, because when it is in a separate box, it will already have a higher value. So it's only for the ones that don't have the additional value. These are plus and minus values for the motions of the base, and also additional values in mounts. You can see that it's plus values, but also minus values. That means that you get less difficulty than the original picture in the bubbles of motions of the base. Here, the additional value of +2 for mounts, for cannonballs that are performed in pike position, it's only for the ones that don't have a separate box. There are some cannonballs that are in the tables, in puck position and in pike position. But when they have a separate box, they have already additional value. Then you cannot claim another extra +2. It's all only for the ones who are in the tables of difficulty, only in a puck position. These are additional difficulty for women's pair and women's group. So all women get additional values, and people are asking me, why are you doing that? It makes no difference. It's for all women's pair and women's group, it's same. Yes, but it makes a difference in the team competition. So that's why we have to take care, because some national teams have no men or less men. So the value of difficulty, the scores of the difficulty will always much higher in the men. That's why we added additional difficulty for women. So it is for all positions, points of support, hand to hand. So handstands, hand to hand supports, +1 low, +2, 2 on 1, +3, 1 on 1 low, and then +3 to high, +3 in 2 on 2, +4 2 on 1, +4 1 on 2, and +5 1 on 1. It doesn't count on the floor. So when the base is lying on the floor, hand is on the floor, you don't get these plus values. It's not counting. You also have this foot to hand additional values, the +3 for everything that's higher than 5, and the foot stands bigger than 6 receive +5. So it's low and it's high. It's half arm and high arm. This is a clip. I use a few clips during the PowerPoints. Some people, it will be not so clear because of the internet. On STS, every film and every video runs without any problem. So when you want to see the videos, you need to go to the STS. So in this position, you see the hands of the base are on the floor and the middle is performing a handstand on these hands. In this case, it's also a hand to hand, but in this case, there is no plus value because the hands are lying on the floor. These pages came out of the tables of difficulty into the general rules. So there's no changes. Yes, the values are different, but there's no changes in the system in calculating the mounts with the partner in position onto the pyramid. Yes, so it's depending on the difficulty from the basis, how much you get to climb up with an element. This page is the same. It's extra value for mounts. The previous one was climbing with the top in position. This one are mounts into pyramids. Remember that the value of the top is not included. You have to look for the value of the mounts, but in these mounts, the value of the static hold is not included. So by pairs, it is included. For pairs, for groups, it's not. These are the forbidden positions. And depending on the version of your tables of difficulty, pay attention. I had to rephrase this sentence. It's different in your version, I think. So women's pairs and women's group may not work on the back of the neck, except with an additional point of support, holding a leg, an example, or on top of the head. I think I've put in your version both sentences together, and the additional support was at the back. That was not correct, because in that case, you could work on the head as a woman with an additional point of support. That's not correct. That's why I changed it. So pay attention to that. All the rest was already in the tables. There's a few positions added, especially in B. For the rest, there are no changes, and the numbers are the same as in the tables. Here, the categories of foot stands, they are in a completely different order in this table, because they match now better with the tables in the tables of difficulty, with the letters. So these letters, the A to G, are matching better with the tables of difficulty. You all know that everything is on one page. The base, the static holds of the base positions, the static hold of the top, the motions of the top, and the motions of the base, everything is on one page. So these are the values for the base in a 3-second hold of the top. So you have the blue bubbles give the value of the static hold, the static position of the top. In the middle, you see the position of the base. The blue arrow here gives the motion of the top from straddle to handstand in this case, and that gives the value in the white bubble. So the white bubbles in this are the motions, the blue is a static hold. So here, the gray ones are the handstands and elements like planche with 6 or higher. So these are the motions of the base. So the base going from lying to standing. When he does that with a handstand, it will be 4. When it does that with a straddle, that's not possible because then he's sitting on the head. But with, I don't know what, with this position in his hands, a bridge, then it's only 2. You see next to each bubble of the bases, these drawings, you have to follow the arrow So this is down and this arrow goes up. The gray is with the handstands and the higher value elements. Why we change it in higher level, higher value elements? Because we decided that planche was not a handstand anymore. So that's why we use other wording. You have the values for half a turn and you have the values for a full turn. Full turn goes from 270 to 360. So there is no deduction that it's not 360 because 270 is already enough. Then the pages of the mounts. This is an example. When you take this mount going to A, so it's B to A1, because you also have A and it can be 16 to 20. But in this case, we take 1, the value is 5. So page 29, BA to 1 is value 5. So, and it's the 3 seconds included. In mounts, it's just a clarification of start positions. The start position in backward support, that's this one on the base, can be considered as a variant of the start position on knees of the base. So it doesn't matter, they can do that or that. Yeah, it's considered as the same. A word of explanation, because I received already several messages. This is a clarification for the start positions in mounts. Mounts can also be performed with another base position as upright standing. The example is base in split or sit. I know that these boys, they perform a motion. It's not a mount, but I could not find easily. I looked and I've spent too much time already on that. An example of a mount in sit. But imagine that instead of going to straddle and then going up to handstand, he's starting in standing on the shoulder and then go straight into handstand. That would be a mount. I only want to show that also in this position, you can do every mount. A mount, the base don't have to stand. He can sit and he can sit in split, in normal sit. So when he would now go to straight to handstand, that would be a mount. This is a motion. You're all correct in sending me messages that this is a motion and not a mount. You are right. But in this position, you can also do mounts. This is another example. So this is the value. The top is a value of 5. The base is a value of 4. Here, final position, the top is a value of 5. The base is a value of 6. For going from there to there, you get once more the top value of 5 because the top is still working the whole time. And the base gets value 3 going from standing to side split. This is an example of such a motion of the base. Look, the motion, the base is performing a motion, and now they perform a motion together. So, but the first part was an example of the motion of the base and the top staying in the same position. Then you have another situation where start position is the same, but here the top is performing a motion from crocodile one arm into straddle one arm. So the top value 5, base value 4, you receive again the value 5, the value 5 of the top, and the additional +4 for the motion from the top into the straddle one arm. The motion of the base standing to side split is value 3. So this is the final value of this the final static hold. So top value 7 and base value 6. Important, I will say it once more and I will repeat that. It's a rule, it must be done because the top gets this value again. It's the base who starts the motion. The base starts to move first and the top have to stay still till the base has started. The top cannot start with her motion. Really important, because it's always the start position of the top that they deserve during that motion. An example. So I hope that's clear for all motions of pairs. Now we go to groups. So all pyramids must be selected from different categories. So for women's trio, that's the symbol that we received from FIG for trios. So you have these 6 categories with the description. Nothing changed, so I don't have to spend a lot of time on that. Same for men's 4. They also have the 6 categories with the different descriptions. It's on page 84. The groups of pyramids of base positions are determined by the difficulty for the top. So how much does a top get to perform a handstand? Just an example. That depends on the value of the bases. When it's a base pyramid, value 1 to 8, it's group 1. 9 to 13, it's group 2. 14 to 17, group 3. And group 4 is everything higher than 18. So these values will determine the difficulty of the top. Then you have in women's group a page where you can see what position of the bases you need to use. That's also determine the value for the top. So you have to look where my pyramid belongs to. For men, you have the same. Also here, you can find how much your top is getting depending on the position of the bases. So all these positions are also considered to working on high, and these ones are considered working on low arm. Transitional pyramids, you get additional value for going from one pyramid into another. The line on the left is the first pyramid, the line on top is the second pyramid, and when you connect the lines, values from that pyramid, values from the second pyramid, it gives additional value for the transition. Easy, no change. So again, the value of mounts in the groups is without value of the static hold. So it's only for the mount. When you do more than one position out of one box, you only get the highest. Imagine you do here with value 4, this position with value 4, and you do this position value 5, you will only get the 5, not the 4. And many base positions are in the same box for women group and man group. But an open end means that the box goes from one row into the next. So even then the coordinates will be different. Like here, This is an open box and continues still here. So this element will be A and this element will be B, but it doesn't matter. Like here the same, this box is open at the end, so it continues still here. So when you have this element is C11 and this element is D2, it's considered in one box as identical and you can only get one box. Same thing in Mans 4. So when the line is open, the box continues. In the bubbles for trios, you have the position of the bases, arm or feet, legs. So that's the position for the bases. The gray bubbles is the static holds. These values are different. They are not all the same as last cycle. So check that very carefully. They're more logical. So you need to check very carefully. These values are different than last cycle. And the white bubbles is the motion of the top. And every group of difficulty, the groups for difficulty, have their own value for the motions. So when you perform a straddle going to handstand on a group 1, the group 1 is the closest to the drawing. So in this case, in a group 1, this handstand the value will be 3. In group 2, it will be 4. In group 3, it will be 5. And in group 4, it will be 6. It's the same when you go from a flag into a planche. Depending on the difficulty, the motion will be worth more or less. Also, the static hold will be more or less. So here you can see it more clear. The lowest group, the lowest values, closest to the drawing, the lowest values, these for motions, the grays for static holds. Examples: pyramids without transition, but with more than one static hold. So that's what this pyramid is worth, the values for that pyramid. And these are the values for that pyramid. But because both positions are in the same box, you only get that, and that's the value, total value of this pyramid. Because that's a pyramid without transition, because you don't get a transition value to motion in one box. Transitions change from one box to another, only from a 3-second into a 3 seconds. And during a transition of the top can be in a position of value. Point 2 is new, can be in a position of no value, and can be motion to a different position. Example of point number 1 can be in a position of value. This is an example, drawings. And this is an example of a trio where the top stays in the same position during the transition of the top. During the transition of the bases, I'm sorry. And they transition from one box into another. But the top is not changing. And it's a 3-second into a 3-second. This is an example of option number 2. The top is in a position of no value. So you have the value of this pyramid. The base value is 14. Plus 9 is the value of the top. The plus 3 is the additional value that they get as a women's group. And plus 1 is the legs together. So this, for your exam, this 9 and this 3 should be in one box. So you have to write there 12. They go to this position. That's only one value for the whole thing. So that's a 7. Going from a 14 to a 7 will give plus 2. This is a very old film, but that shows that it was part of acrobatics already a long time ago, and we lost those kind of elements because it was not worth anything anymore. So this was the example of the top being in a position of no value. This is an example. The top is performing a motion during the transition. Here, value of the start position plus the value of the motion plus the value of the transition. So again, this is the start position. Base 11, top plus 2. The 2, they get again the 2 because the top waits till the base is starting to come up. It's again the base who starts, and then you get the start position again. The plus 4 is for the top who's performing a motion from straddle to handstand. And the plus 4 is for the bases from this position to that position. Then you have the final 3-second hold, base position, top position, plus 3 because of the handstand, so 12 again, and the plus 1 that's in a separate box for the legs together. So total value of this pyramid is 50. This is an example of the top who's performing a motion to a different position. After a transition, the top can go to a different static hold. That's Article 20.18. There is no requirement to hold the same position during and on the final pyramid. So very important that you realize that it's allowed to do that. And it's in all transitional pyramids. So it's for trios and men's 4. That's an option. So they start here, 11 and plus 2. The top stays during the transition because she's working, she's staying, she gets the static hold at the start of the transition. This one. The transition from this to that is only plus 1. When they arrive in this position, she's not staying for 3 seconds. The moment they arrive, it's also not, we don't speak about 1 second. We don't have the 1 second anymore. It's 3 seconds arriving and the top immediately is pressing to handstand. And there they stay 3 seconds. So we consider this a 3 static hold into a 3 static hold because there's no need to stay here. They don't claim it, nothing. The motion from here to there is a 4, they get that. The base position is a 6. The top position is a 5. The +3 additional for women's group. So in total, this is 8, sorry. This is 8 that you have to put in that box together, and the +1 in the last box. This is an example for men's 4. Here, the top is motioning from straddle to handstand. Base position 10, top position +2. This is the 2 of the top being in straddle. The bases perform a motion to split. They get the +2. Then the top is motioning from straddle to handstand, the +4. And then the 3-second hold, it's 11, and 7 for the top, it's 38. This was all about the tables of difficulty. If the element was in one of the previous tables of difficulty, but not in the tables of difficulty from 2022 to 2024, you don't have to ask for the element to be rated as new element. The TC removed many elements for different reasons. A number of elements we took out because of safety for the gymnast, long-term health. A number of elements were not used for many years. Some of the elements were there for 20 years and nobody ever did them. So there was no use in leaving them there. We also took out a number of skills that we thought it was not aesthetic. Then we also took out skills that we consider to be a variant. Remember, when it's only a small difference, we considered it as a stylistic variation, and you can do it with the same ID as the ones who are in. And also the most circus-like style elements we took out. Standing still is going backwards. We need to move on, and we need to change, and we need to adjust our tables. So that was all about the tables of difficulty. Questions?
Yes,
ooh, 27, a lot.
Yeah.
My God. Can I ask something? Because when I'm going to answer 27 questions now, that's going to be impossible. Then can I ask to my TC members that you answer a number of those questions who are very obvious in the chat? And can I also ask everyone? I received today an email from Steve Butcher. Your national federation is going to receive the request to send all your questions to me by Saturday. I will work in the weekend with 2 of my TC members to make a full list of all questions. Then on Monday evening, I have a TC meeting, and we will answer all these questions, and they will be published by Tuesday. So it's going to be a tremendous job, but that's what we're going to do. So when your question is not answered today, please send it to our national federation, and you will have it by Tuesday next week, because Steve promised me that it must be published then on Tuesday. So I will make sure that this newsletter with or the list, I don't know it's going to be a newsletter, but the list with questions and answers will be published before you have your tests. You will know everything in time. So by Saturday, 22nd, I need to receive from your national federation, not from your person, your questions, and I will answer them with my TC together on Monday, and we will send it back to the full list with all questions and all answers by Tuesday next week. So because I see indeed questions and answers 26, when I do that, I'm talking for 1 hour, and then we don't have time to do all the rest. Do you agree, Karine?
Yes, for sure. There was just some questions that are coming back. For the transition, the top, it's always the base who has to start the transition?
Yes, yes, it is. Base start, top can follow immediately, but base start in pairs and in group, same rule. Or the top is not changing and wait till the transition of the bases is finished and then performs their motion. That's also an option. But because the value of the top is given as a start position, that's why the top still has to be in that position before the transition is starting. It's very logical.
There's a question regarding that. So when that doesn't happen, that they claim the value with the start position,
then they don't get the start value. Then the value of the top is not given.
Only this one, the rest is given.
Yes.
There was also some questions regarding the transition. There are two of them like this. When there is a time fault or something like the transition fall down and it's rebuilt for the second for the final position.
Yes.
Is it okay to take just the highest value in the same example have you given first, or because it's rebuilt another construction, or is it only the first base position that counts with the first balance?
No, when they rebuild the second one, they can have the second one. But they don't have the transitional value. They don't have the value of the top during the transition. But when they perform the first pyramid and there is no time faults, and during the transition they fall, but they will rebuild and they have the second pyramid, it's fine. Of course, they started to go to the next one, so they have the time faults, they have the fall, but they can get the difficulty of the second one when they perform it for in a good way for 3 seconds again. Okay. I don't hear anyone anymore. It's like I'm all alone in the world. I don't see anyone. I don't hear anyone.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so no. Now I'm happy. So it means I'm not lying. Till now, I'm not lying. Okay. Can I continue, Karine?
Yes, sure. If all other questions can be answered later, just to check with
yeah. You know, the most important ones you can ask now, and we will see where we finish and what time we have to still answer a number of those questions. So I think we now, I doubt which one. Yeah, okay. I will share the next PowerPoint then. That's a short one. It's on dynamic. So there is additional difficulty for women's pair in dynamic. Saltos with 4/4 rotation or more, caught in the hands. So the bases and I'm talking, this should be a girl, but I didn't have that drawing. So when the base in women's pair is catching the top inner in the hands, low arm or high arm, in the top in a vertical position, so standing or handstand, they receive an additional of +4. So not when it's catched in a wrap or in front or back angel or in the arms, then you don't receive it. It's only when you caught them in hand standing up. They also get additional value when they perform a salto of 8/4 salto. That's giving +4. Yes, so a salto of more 8/4 or more rotation. So this is the new rule, additional difficulty for dynamic elements, the landings without support for seniors only. They receive the following extra values. 4/4 is a +2, 6/4 is a +3, and 8/4 is a +4. And it has to come in box C. In the newsletter, you can find that. Then you have the limitation of horizontal catches, pairs and group. Maximum 3 horizontal catches. But all these are horizontal catches. Cradle, wrap, catch on straight arms, front and back angels. So all these things, the cradle between the legs, the planche above, the wrap, front and backwards in the arms, front and back angels, on one arm or on two arms, it doesn't matter. These are all horizontal catches. These are examples of start positions who are considered as the same. They are not identical and all may be used, but no more than 3 in total. So from a full box, and these are only examples, not everything is in those boxes. That's impossible. There are much more starting positions, but we tried to make it clear. So almost identical things can use 3 times. These are all the same, but we consider like a cannonball performed also by groups. It's different than horizontal catch. So cannonballs are not considered as horizontal catches. That's the same for groups, by the way. So the exceptions on more than 3 identical start points, that there is no, we talked about that, there's no restriction anymore to use platform. So these are all different, and that's very interesting. These can bring variation in your element, but you can, you can do all from the same also. Of course, that has an impact on your artistry. But anyway, you can use all platforms and platforms for every element. In pairs, there can be 4 identical start points from half arm. So you can do 4 like this and 4 like this, because those are different. We talked about that. This is the linking table. It works exactly the same as the transition table. So the left vertical column is the first element, and the top horizontal column is the second element. So those are the values. When you link an element of 10 or 11 to a second element of 10 or 11 value, you get the linking value of 7. Links means that it has to continue. There can be no stop, there can be no hesitation, there can be no small interruption. Linking is linking without a stop. It's the catch and they go straight into the next movement. This is an example of a very you know, a link like it should be performed. No way, there's no way around. Without stop, immediately to the next element. Also the next, those elements are linked without any stop. So immediately into the next element without any stop. So when there's doubt, the DJ, no, not when there's doubt, when there is hesitation, when there is a stopping of the movement in the link between the two elements, the link can be taken away by the difficulty judges. This page, I don't have to spend a lot of time. It's just an explanation that everything for one element is on one page. So the start positions, the body positions, the rotation, the finish position, the values, the coordinates. Yeah, here the coordinates for the landings, here the coordinates for the body position. So everything's there. On the below, in the middle of every page, there's a twisting table. On the left, you see the number of rotation, and on top, you see the numbers of twisting. So when you have a 3/4 salto, performing a 720 twists, it gives an extra value of +6. Once more, when you have twisting elements in your D exam, you have to add that to the element. In this case, I don't know what the value would be. Imagine you do a 3/4 salto to arms. In this position, it's a 3. No, straight, it's a 4, and you do double twist in it. So then you add a 6, so you have to write 10. Remember that. Only one number in the box. Page 108, there's a clarification. The extra value for the middle in women's group and men's group performing a jump or a salto to the floor from the start position is not considered as an additional dismount. So the top is performing a double salto to catch. So this element is a catch element. It's not a dismount. Even the middle is performing a dismount backwards. We don't consider that as a dismount. This middle also don't get additional value for landing without support, because this has always been like that. It's nothing new. The additional value is for the tops landing without support. This is an example of such an element. So the top will perform a triple and the middle will performing a twisting salto to the back on the floor. So this is not an additional dismount. You know that dismounts are limited in number, so this is not an additional one. So this is all we have for dynamic tables of difficulty. Karin, I'm waiting if there is important questions. Otherwise, we go to judging difficulty, the next PowerPoint.
I think all the questions concern the balance. I don't see
okay.
regarding the dynamic.
Okay. Then we just continue and we will see how much time we have on the end. And otherwise, they have to send their questions to their federation. But I will try to answer a number of questions at the end. So difficulty. So to define the difficulty of the top during a motion of a transition The bases have to start to move first before the top starts changing position. So again, I repeat it, it's very important. When the stand of a pyramid is slowly starts falling over, that means you're losing balance. That means you get a time fault. When you are here, even the top, of course, this can change position. The two bases can change position, but they must still be in balance. Yes? So when you're falling out, you're not in balance anymore and it's not a static anymore. So be careful for that. This one I want to show you. It was an example where I'm not proud of that happened at the World Championship. And when you have, you know, to apply time faults, we need objective observation. This was not happening during the World Championship. When we look at the clip, you will see that there is one time fault in the individual element by the base on the right side. Then there's two time faults in the crocodile of the top. The top repeats the crocodile and makes again a time fault in the repetition of that element. During the competition, the superior jury had 4 time faults. The panel DJs gave 1 time fault. This is something that's not possible. We also always say, okay, when there is a difference, we give the benefit of the doubt. And there was no consultation with the superior jury, probably because they had only 1. So there was no, you know, even they in the superior jury, they had more benefit of the doubt. But a difference like this is not acceptable. So here, the job that the DJs did was not good. And I want to take your attention to that. So first time fault, girl on the right, in the balance. It's only 1 second, so there's 1 time fault, for sure, no doubt. So the top goes into the crocodile. We are nice to give her 1 second in the first one. So we were even very nice to give her 1 second in the first attempt, and that we give her 2 seconds in the second. So, but at least it was 4 time faults. So when we want an honest competition, everything starts with difficulty to be correct, evaluated, and then of course we go to the E judging and the A judging, but very important, the difficulty. So clarification for groups 20.9, in the balance and combined exercise, difficulty value can only be claimed for 1 base position from 1 box of the tables of difficulty in the whole exercise. And this article overrules all the others. So you cannot say, yeah, but in that article, they say this, or in that article, they say that. This article is overrule everything. You can only get the difficulty of 1 base position from 1 box in the whole exercise. So 20.7, women's group category 1, only 1 transition allowed in category 1. So the second part of this pyramid cannot be claimed. .10, in a pyramid with more than 1 base position, sorry. I need a drink for a moment, excuse me. So in a pyramid with more than one base position of the same box, the highest base difficulty is given. We saw already examples of that, and here we have another example for that article and that rule. 20.15. In a transitional pyramid, the base position must be changed from one box to another. For evaluation of the whole transitional pyramid with maximum 3 base positions are allowed, all base values are given. Yes? This is from one box to another. Remember, in this case, the sum should be written instead of plus. So your exam, pay attention. D1 exam, you have to check 5 tariff sheets, each on 10 points. That's 50 points. I identified 9 element value boxes. That's each 1 point. I will repeat, I identified 9 element value boxes. There's 4 boxes under one container. And I did identify 9 times these 4 boxes. And there is the yellow difficulty value box. That's also 1 point. So the total is on 10 points. As a candidate, you have to fill in the interface online. So it's only the values, it's not the coordinates. But you can only enter one number in one box. So it will be the sum of 2 or more values. You also have to check the elements on the restrictions and the special requirements. Pay attention, restrictions, new this cycle is that you cannot repeat amount. So pay attention to that. And then you have to fill in the total difficulty. Your total time is 15 minutes for one tariff sheet. You will be able to download those 5 tariff sheets before the test is starting. Probably like a half an hour before the test is starting. I give you the good advice, download those tariff sheets and print them, because otherwise you're gonna struggle. So that's how the tariff sheet is gonna look. So 9 times 4 boxes identified. Like here, this is not identified and I gave you the values. We as a TC give you the values. Also the individual elements, we give you the values. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to check that. Don't lose time. You accept what's standing there and you fill in what needs to be filled in the correct box. Remember, it's the computer who says if you're right or wrong. Then you need those values, even you didn't fill them in. You need those values to fill in the difficulty value. Yeah, otherwise you cannot fill that in. And I need the difficulty value, not the D-score, not the balance, not only the DV. So this is the tariff sheet with the values. So these are the numbers that you should have filled in those boxes with that value. So when I go back and forward, you see 20 and 1. When I go back, you see 20 and 1. Then you have box 4. So that was the second box. But the second box, that's colored yellow. Don't worry, it will, in your exam papers, there's written on the side, box 1, box 2, box 3. So you will get a paper. It's not on this one, but the ones you are getting for your exam, it's written on the side, so you cannot make the mistake. So you fill in those values. When you click on one of these boxes, you can just enter the number you have to enter. Don't forget the total difficulty value and then validate. This is how it's going to look. Yes. So you click on a box, it becomes green, then you can enter your value. You do that for the 9 boxes and then the total difficulty value. When you're finished, you submit. When you want to go back to the tariff sheet, you can, but normally when you download it and print it, you will not it's not necessary to go back to the tariff sheet, but you can. You have 15 minutes in total to do the checking with your tables of difficulty. Make sure you print your tables of difficulty that are online, so you can use that. The time is running the whole time down here. Make sure you submit before the time is over. Yeah, otherwise you are too late. So the candidates also for D2 exam, yeah, that's your exam for the job of the DJ during competition. Also for that exam, you have to download your tariff sheets. That are 10 tariff sheets, but you probably, I have tomorrow another meeting with the IT guys and later this week with the STS people. I asked that you could download all your tariff sheets half an hour before the test. So the 5 for D1, there will be in a package, and 10 for D2. The ones from D2 is not with the yellow, they're just normal tariff sheet with all the values on. So also make sure that you print them during the video, because of course you get videos with a tariff sheet. You you work on your printed tariff sheet. You have to identify the time faults in the correct box. You have to check if the element or link is not performed. You have to write that down. Then you have to delete the values in the correct box. And after the video, you have 2 minutes to fill in the interface online during the test. First, you put your tariff sheets and you click on 1, 2, or 3 time faults on the top box of the correct box. You also fill in the final difficulty value. And if all special requirements are not fulfilled, you fill in the deduction in the special requirement box. If the tariff sheet was wrong, and I mean the order of the elements is wrong, you have to fill in the 0.3 in tariff sheet box. So that's a tariff sheet that you will receive. You don't have to check those. You consider them as correct. Even when you see a mistake, you just leave it as it is. These are values with coordinates. Yes? The video is started. You look at the video. I'm going to do it. Maybe it's not playing well, but on the STS, it will play well. Yes? So you look at the video and then you check very carefully time faults, elements performed, individual elements performed. So it's obvious that here are time faults. So probably because we are online, this video was not playing well and with a lot of trembling but anyway, here in this box, and we're talking then about box 4, there were 2 time faults. You should have identified that, and you have to write that on your tariff sheet that you printed. In this element, there's also a time fault of 0.3. So in total, it's 0.9. So when you have an interface, box 4, 2 time faults, here, 1 time fault. In total, in this box, 0.9. The difficulty value, you didn't take any element out, is 140. So the interface will look like this, the screen. So you have to click on 2 in box 4, and it will color red. You also have to click on 1 time fault in this box. You can fill in the number of time faults. When there's special requirements, you can click on this and fill it in, and the tariff sheet here and the total difficulty value. You have only 2 minutes. You don't have time to do a lot of other things. Fill in your tariff sheet during the exercise and translate it immediately onto this interface, or you will be too late. Make sure before the time is over that you submit. Here can you see how it looks when you click on it? It's becoming red. When you click on the value, like when you say this element is not performed, you have to click on the values of that element, then they become red, and the value must go out. So, but you have to submit your difficulty value. But you see, the last 10 seconds will be in red, 4 seconds remaining. So here I have to hurry and click on submit before my time is over. So for D2, you have 10 exercises with 10 tariff sheets. Every tariff sheet is on 10. Questions about the D exam?
There are a few questions coming up. About the D exam, the video for the exam number 2 will be shown twice or once?
No, only once, only once. I'm sorry. Also during a competition, no, we could not do that. In an exam, in a competition, the DJ also cannot say, "Oh, I didn't see it. Can I watch the video first?" When you want to be a DJ, you have to be able to do it looking only once. And I know it's not easy. That's why only the best people are invited to do D. I can tell you that the people who are invited to do D have all 90% or more. So that was a previous cycle, of course, but also there you only saw it once. A question that also been asked, do we have music during execution? Yes, last cycle you didn't, but you know, even for me, it was too hard to watch without music to these exercises. So it is with music, but only once. You cannot look a second time. And 2 minutes, I can tell you, it's not long. I hope your national federation have informed you that there is a practical test already. This, I'm looking so I don't lie. Is it Friday or Saturday?
I think it's Saturday.
Saturday at 2 o'clock.
The
Am I right?
22nd.
22nd Saturday, there is an online test, and it's just to testing the system. Yeah, it will be all exercises that you have already in your STS. I hope everybody found not only the PowerPoints, all these PowerPoints are also in English, there, but also in French, in Spanish, and the majority in Russian. The practical videos are not translated into Russian, only the one from MENS4. But so the test is indeed on Saturday at 2 o'clock, 22nd, and then the week after, on the 29th, you have this exam test. Okay? So, but make sure that you do the test this Saturday. It's short. It will be 2 exercises on D1, 2 exercises on D2, and it's exercises that are available in your study platform in STS. So that would help, and it's just that you need to find and see how it's working. So please do it for sure. You will also have 2 E exercises and 2 A exercises, starting with artistry, yeah, and then execution. So it's important you do this testing for the system.
Little information from me. We made a test last week with these examinations, and we found out that some of the browsers didn't work well. It was Firefox with problems, and I think Yuri, it was also Yandex with a lot of problems. Working well, it's Chrome, Opera, and also Edge is working. And what I cannot test was Safari. That I
Okay.
don't have.
So good advice. Chrome is working really well. So there's a few others who work well, but Xandex, I think, is not working well. And what was the other, Frank?
Firefox.
Firefox. So make sure you take a browser that's working well. Important for your exam. Okay.
There was also a question in the chat, what is when my device are striking? You have 20 minutes to restart.
Okay,
You
yeah.
have a time frame from 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and you can maybe change the computer or something like that.
Yeah. So when you,
yeah,
when your internet is going out, or you just, shut off, please log in again. You will automatically continue with your exam, because your exams are not running together. They're running individually. And the whole continent will have the same package of exams, but in a random order, they will come to you. So even when you're sitting with another person in a room, the order of your exam will be different. So don't think we can work together, because it's a random order. I don't know. And when you are finished and submit earlier, you're going faster in your exam. When you're shut out and you come back in, you are later, but there is a time frame. So, and they give everybody like 20 minutes where it's possible when you are, not connected to internet, to connect again and to continue. We hope that everything works well, because it's already decided that, when there's really a dropout because of internet that's not working at all, then you have to go to the retest. It will not be able to do it again in the first trial. Okay. I think we need to go to
Rosie, we just have another questions regarding the difficulty exam.
Okay.
When some values will not be given because of restrictions, I think it's for the D1 exam. it needs to be identified in the yellow boxes? It's the question from Mariana.
Yes, then yeah, absolutely. Then it should be a 0. When they repeat a cannonball, you have to identify that. Because that's what's allowed in the last cycle, and I cannot change also in the D2. I cannot change the film. So when they repeat the cannonball, you have to take it out. Okay.
Yeah, I think the question was because you said for the D1, we have to fulfill the values only. But
yes,
then also to check the specific requirement and the restrictions. So the
yes,
question is how to act when there's a restriction, to put a 0 instead
yes, to put a 0, instead of a number. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So execution. It's really a pity, I say it again, that we don't have live courses, that we don't have live instruction meetings with judges where we can discuss and where we can talk about mistakes and how to look at it. But, you know, the pandemic changed the world and we have to change with it. So we have to live with what we can do. And that's why we spend so much time in producing everything for you online. When I see a planche and when I expect to see a planche, this is how it should look. It's horizontal. So perfect execution stands against technical faults. And technical faults goes with relevant deductions. These deductions you have to take by the code of points, not by your own interpretation or not by your own opinion. I'm sorry, you are not the person who decides how it should look and what you have to deduct. It is by the code of points, and the code of points is written by the TC, and the TC are elected people. And when you want to do it differently, when you think we do it all bad, then you have to make sure you are a candidate and that you get elected to do and to write a new code of points. But at this point in time, it is by this code of points for 2022 to 24. The tables of deductions are there in Article 46, and the guidelines for judges are there in Appendix 1. And that's what it is. You have 6 criteria that you have to look at in all elements. The amplitude, and it's amplitude in everything. That is about, of course, flight phase and height, but also about the extension in the balance elements, about how long the arms, how long the legs, everything. Amplitude in every element and in every part of the element. The body shapes, the angles and lines. Of course, I want to see a very small puck position. I want to see a closed pike position. I want to see a beautiful straight position. And when it's not, there is deductions. Also the angles and the lines. That means that when I see a straight handstand and there is an angle in the shoulders and a small angle in the hips, it's not good. I will deduct. Also the lines, I'm talking about feet, about knees, about arms, everything. So that's the body shape. Of course, we also have to look at the hesitations, the steps and the slips. So when they're climbing, they should not hesitate to climb up. Or when there is a motion into an element, there can be no hesitation in this motion. Not from the base, not from the top. Steps and slips. So when they're climbing and they slip from a shoulder or a leg, That can happen, but it's a deduction, because when you don't deduct, it's not correct. The treatment of the ones who don't make these mistakes. Instability, here we're talking about all the shaking, all the wobbles, big wobbles, little bit of wobble, a little bit of instability in static holds, all those kind of things. Rotation, that goes from under rotation to over rotation. You know exactly where the rotation starts and where it stops or should stop. When that's not correct, you have to deduct. And then, of course, you have the non-completions and the faults. That's usually very clear to see. You cannot hide it. Pay attention. Your lovely individual elements. The execution of individual elements, single or in series, of each partner is evaluated separately to a maximum deduction of 1. So this means that this 1 point is for a single element or for a series. So when in a trio, 3 partners perform a series, each series should be evaluated and a maximum deduction of 1 point can be given. That's easy. When it's a series and all 3 partners do the series at the same time or in waterfall, that's easy. Example number 2, that's also possible. The top is performing a Valdez, the second base a flick-flack to knee, the third base a Valdez to knee. Then they do pair group element, choreography, another pair group element, and then they do a headstand, and a handstand. Again, they do choreography, they continue, pair group element, another pair group element, choreography, and then they do jump 360 to split, jump 360 to side split, and a handstand 360 degrees. Of course, you cannot do it like in the previous example. Here, you have to judge each element of each partner separately. And yes, it's also to a maximum of a full mark for each partner. Then, of course, there came the remark, does it mean that in Mass 4 you can deduct up to 12 points in a Mass 4 when they do all 3 elements? Yes, in theory, you are correct. But for me, this is science fiction. No way ever will all 4 partners lose a full mark. That means a fall in every element. No way. So this is a situation that will never happen. But in theory, on paper, the answer is yes. So pay attention, also the coaches who are present, because this is new. And it's time that we start to clarify, and it's just clarifications. People ask, where does it say in the code of points? No, we just clarify how we want it to be performed. We teach the judges how to look at it. So sitting position, this was published in a newsletter, that it must be like this, or like this. That means that the sitting position, the angle of the legs must be 90 degrees, that's the maximum, or less. So when you sit like this as a base, that's not good. This is an angle of 90 degrees, and this goes outside the angle. And an angle of 90 degrees, it's easy to see. It's easy. You see immediately when it's too wide. So when the legs are open much more, this is a technical mistake. And you have to give a deduction of 0.3. We give an example Last year, we didn't have that explanation, this clarification, but now we do. So this last year, it was good. Now it's not good anymore. So this is an example. So that's a motion of the base to sit, but her legs are too wide. This is too much. When she wants to have no deduction, she must make her motion more further. So, and her legs must be closed more. So in this case, it's a deduction of 0.3. In this case, there is no deduction. This is the correct way. Also from split to sit, and this is less than 90 degrees. You see, this is different. Here is no deduction for the legs position. We have another element, this one. And we see it, and the legs must be closed together or open to a maximum of shoulder wide. And I want to say, this is also for Mexican. This Mexican, that's fine. That's shoulder wide. There's no problem. But many times the legs in Mexican are also very wide, above shoulder wide, more than shoulder wide. So in both cases, 0.3. So when the legs of the base in this motion or in the Mexican of the top is more than shoulder wide, you deduct. So also here there is a deduction. So look, the legs are much wider than 90 degrees. So last year, last cycle, it was good. We didn't specify ever that mistake, but now the TC decided that this is not the right way to perform this element. And that's why I want to teach it in this way to all the judges and the coaches. A reminder for all judges, a fall in choreo is also a fall. So when they enter the floor, they start with choreography and there's one of the partners, stumble over the leg of one of the other partners and fall on the floor, it's a full mark. So falling is a full mark. I don't have to play this because that's about links. So there can be no stop between the elements. And when there is no stop, you also don't deduct for the link. It's something that I want to teach all judges. Keep your pen still when there is no mistake. Some judges think that in every element there must be a mistake. Sometimes there's not. So it's really important as a judge that you take your deductions by the rules. And in the same way for all. So not only for beginning countries or not only for your direct concurrents. No, for all. A mistake is a mistake, and it doesn't matter if you are from whatever country. It's not so that the best of the world, the top countries of the world, can also make mistakes. You don't have to assume that they do everything correct. That's not the case. Many times they do, but sometimes they make also mistakes in some elements. So it has to be the same. But of course, you have to take the deductions when you see them and when they appear, and by the rules, really important. All PowerPoints from 11 till 16, you have clips and you have deductions. You have full exercises with an evaluation, and you have these clips with the deductions. I want to say, are these always the perfect, correct deductions? No. Why? Because we judged them with 6 people. 6 people gave scores. And it's like on a competition. We have to find a compromise in the elements. We discussed it in the elements. And for the exercise, we do exactly as we do during a competition, highest, lowest out, average, the middle. And as we are 6 people from different countries, from different age, with a different view, we try to apply our rules in the best way we can, but it's not always perfect, because when that was the case, my God, then we would not have so much problems at competitions, because then all judges would be able to apply the rules much easier. So don't think it has to be that. It is a compromise from 6 people from different countries in the TC. But we did the best we could. We had one meeting in more than 2 years now, almost 2 years and a half. We had one meeting to prepare all of this. So don't be too hard on us. We tried really hard. So are there questions for this execution judging? I see a question. Could you please send us these PowerPoints? I cannot. It's too much. It's too extended, and it's available on the STS program that's now going to be available for all existing judges and also for all the candidates who registered to take the course, so new people. For the coaches, no, I'm sorry, I cannot provide you with this material at this point in the cycle. Probably when all the exams are over, it will be another case, and then I can ask that, but not at this point. I'm glad I can show it to you in this webinar, but no, I'm not allowed to give that. MITC members are also not allowed to do that.
This is a good question. Can judges use 2 screens? No, just
of course.
Same.
Of course, why not? Why not? Yes, you can use 2 screens. You can do what you want. When I have to correct documents at home, I also work with 2 screens because it's much easier to go from.
No, it's about exam. Can judges use 2 screens during the exam?
Yeah, it depends on what they want to do, and you know, when they want to keep up their tariff sheet or whatever, they cannot fill into.
It's much better if all of judges' recommendation use 1 screen with your login and password and have printer and print the tariff sheets.
Yeah, but there will come. There will be a judges, I think, guideline or something. I'm waiting. One of these days, I will receive it from Doug Hill from the STS, and I will check it. And everything must be online, half an hour, download tariff sheet, print them, have your tariff sheets, your judging papers with you to judge artistry, have your judging papers to judge execution with you, make sure your tables of difficulty are there. So all these kind of things are there, will be in the guidelines before you take your exam. But I don't know when it's coming. So, okay. I have one more PowerPoint, and that's an important one on artistry. So I'm going to start that because there's several things in that I really want to talk about. That's the last one.
Już się wyłączam.
Okay. So artistry is a part of acrobatics now for already 3 cycles. It's, I think, the fourth cycle. Sometimes I was really angry at competitions when I saw the scores. I got angry choreographers talking to me. I got angry coaches talking to me. Some of them say, you better delete, you know, cancel the whole artistry score because, you know, the judges are just playing games. They don't know what they're doing. I will fight as long as I'm there for two things: to make steps forwards direction Olympic Games, and also to keep our artistry judging and to make it better, because artistry makes acrobatics unique and it makes us special and different from the other disciplines. And I will not give it up. So I think when you look at the exercises, when you look at what the young people are bringing to the floor, even that level of choreography, of performing, that improved so much since we had this artistry judging. No, we cannot give it up. We have to keep it. But I'm going to try to help you in taking the right direction, to change the direction you go with your judging artistry. Is it changing? No, it's another way in looking at things. It's another way in coming up with your scores. It's another way in paying them, the choreographers and the athletes, in how they bring the exercise on the floor. And one thing I want to say before we even start, remember, they get on those 5 criteria: partnership, expression, performance, creativity, and musicality. Every unit that's coming on the floor gets 5 points for nothing, for doing nothing. Even if it's bad, they still receive the 5 points. So when they don't give us what we expect from them in each criteria, you give them 0 extra. I mean that, 0 extra. When the partnership is not okay, when there's no connection, you give them 0 extra because they receive already a full mark in each criteria. That's the first point you cannot forget. This is an attempt to apply these criteria in a more accurate and honest way. And I do it by asking myself, and you should ask yourself, several questions in each criteria, and give one on give an answer on following in the following way. When you ask a question and you say yes to a question, you add, you give them. Remember, it's a positive way of judging artistry. So you add 0.3. When you say plus minus, sometimes not the whole exercise or a little bit, then you can add 0.1 in that criteria. When the answer on your question is no, you add 0. My goal is to develop with smart people an electronic system where you only have to answer on these questions. So you will not give these points anymore. So you will get the bottoms, yes, plus minus, or no, on each criteria. So, and the system then will add the points. And it can be by buttons, but it can also be something like, you know, I don't know, yeah, you know, you will see. I have to speak with people who can do that. They use it also in dance competitions and things like that. So, okay, in partnership, 3 questions. The maturity, is that logical? Or is it really illogical? Does it look like a father with his child? When it's not logical, it's a no, 0. The level of physical and technical preparation, is it from the same level? You can easily see that. You see that already also in the beginning of the exercise. So when the level is at the same level, so when the preparation is at the same level, then they get the 0.3. When there is a difference, but not so bad, okay, then you give them 0.1 for that question. But when there is a big difference between the physical and technical preparation, you say no, and then it's a 0. Is there a connection between partners? Connection between partners can be in different ways. When they bring an exercise together, that's what we are. Acrobatics is working together. Then it's a yes. And a connection can be in different ways. It can be in the choreography, in the way they look at each other. And of course, I'm not talking only about a mixed pair where it's a man and a young woman who are looking in a different way to each other than 4 men. I don't expect 4 men to look in that way to each other, but they can really have fun together or create something exciting on the floor together, but not when it looks like everybody is doing his own thing and by accident it works together. So we have to really see that it's a team, that they're connected, that they perform for us together. Partnership, expression, emotion. Do they project the emotion of the exercise? Can I see it? Can I feel it? Can they take me in their story? That's easy to feel, And that's how all these talent shows, that is all these dance shows are working. It's all about emotion. It's all about, can they transfer what they should feel to us? That's what it's all about in expression. And it's not about face. And it's not about acting. It's about character, about feeling, about attitude. And do they manage to do this throughout the exercise? Or is it just in the beginning and then they go for difficulty? Then it's only elements. When it's that the case, I only give 0.1. But when they manage to do it throughout the exercise, they get a 0.3 for me. When they really focus on difficulty and when there is almost no choreography, they get nothing. It's a 0. And then is there harmony of expression between the partners? Sometimes there's a big difference in the way they can express themselves. So there should be, harmony. And that's also the tasks of the choreographers and the coaches. When one person is really dominant, you have to find a way to make it more balanced, because otherwise it's also not good. Performance. So many things are coming under performance. Performance is making or killing an exercise. Is there a continuous flow? No stops. And of course, immediately I get the question, yeah, but concentration before a difficult element, it's important. Oh yes, it is important. And yes, they can do it. But how can I promise? How can I pay? How can I, do something extra for the ones who don't need to concentrate? The ones who are going from one element into the next without any stop, without any concentration. So when there is a continuous flow, they get the 0.2. when there is stops, they don't get it. And when they do it sometimes and sometimes not, you give the point 1. Do they have great amplitude in everything? That's what I call always filling the box. And it's not only in elements, it's also in arm movements, in head, in body movements. Everything must have amplitude. When everything feels great and beautiful, then they fill the box and they get a point 2. Synchronization between partners. When you do a whole exercise with 2 or 3 or 4 people, some parts will be together, but synchronization has a big impact on the performance. It always looks really good when it's done really well. And you have to look only to the massa exercises that sometimes is that you see in opening of big sports event like Olympic Games or the Gimnaestrada, where they have hundreds of people doing the same thing on the same time. Very simple, but synchronization has a big power in the performance. So how is the synchronization between partners? When it's very high, you give a point 2. When it's sometimes, it's a point 1. When there's no synchronization at all, when they just do their own thing and they don't look and they don't feel each other, it's a 0. Is it an original choreo? Very important. When I can see that it's a copy paste from another exercise, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be happy, and my 0 is already there. Of course, sometimes that happens, that new people or that they just copy some parts of another person. It should not be happening, but of course we don't have a rule. There's no protection of the work of a choreographer, so it's hard. But as a national team and the coach and the responsible people for a national team should prevent that things like that happen. That's really copy paste from other athletes. Do they create a personal identity? I can tell you now in Baku, they're gonna need it, like the trios. When there are 42 trios and they don't create the personal identity, it's hard for me to remember who's who. And when I cannot remember them, also my score on that question will not be 0-2. No way. When it's in Belgium, in Flemish, we say like 13 in a dozen. When the exercise is like that, I'm sorry, it's a 0 in personal identity. So it's because there's 5 questions, the highest on each question is only 0.2. Creativity, do they show inventiveness and inspiration in the overall exercise? So it's in the exercise. It's not only in elements. It's not only in choreography. It's everything together. Do they have special and different ways to get in and out of the elements? The entries and the exits. I'm going to say something and maybe some of you will not be happy, but it seems to me that every judge was really tough the past cycle in 11 till 16. Everybody was taking deductions if there were not entries and exits in an original way. But, when we come to juniors, it was not that important anymore. And it looked like for seniors, nobody's caring anymore. Nobody cares about exceptional entries and exits. Why? The rule is the same. Why you expect so much more from an 11 till 16 and 12, 18 than from seniors? Also, there are options to do something special. So when they don't do it, you give 0 on that question. Also in seniors. Do they have different types of elements and rarely staged elements? Different types. When I see a men's pair and all their elements are straight with twisting, sometimes from feet, sometimes from pitch, sometimes from handstand, doesn't matter, but all are straight with twisting, they get a 0 on that question. And if they have rarely staged elements, when I see an element that's, you know, rarely we saw that, or we didn't see it ever, then I'm impressed, and that's the moment I will give on that question the 0.3, because they show me something rarely. So that's what I, you know, appreciate and should appreciate as a judge. Musicality, I have only 2 questions. It's 0.5, medium is 0.3, or it's nothing. Is the choreo in harmony with the music? And I'm sorry, still I see a lot of exercises where when I put on another exercise, the majority of the judges would even not notice that. So when that's the case, you should not give points, because the harmony of the choreography with the music, we are talking about the character, the rhythm, the accents, the melody, the mood. Sorry, when I can put on another music without any problem, you don't fulfill the musicality. So it's 0 in this case, or maybe it's part of the exercise. I see many times exercises where the choreography is quite good in harmony with the music, but the moment they start with elements, it's over and out. So I want it throughout. So yes, when they have it everywhere, it's a 0.5. When it's only in the choreography and the elements, they just don't listen to the music at all anymore, it's only a 0.3. And when it's just background music, it's a 0. And are the musical sentences and accents respected and used? I want to see, and I want to just know that every accent or every height in the music is used by the athletes, that we can see what they are doing, that we feel together with the music what they are doing. So that's really important. Your screen is going to show partnership, expression, performance. The 1 point should not be there. You cannot touch the one, you know, you don't give anything there. It's the rest you need. So it will, then you can click on it. So you don't have to count. You only click on what you think it should be. Like in this example, I don't want, like on World Championship, that the half of the judges give 0.6, 0.7 of 0.8 for all criteria. I'm sorry, that's not judging. That's easy. That's not what we did, also not as a TC. And our scores in artistry, in all exercises we judged, and that were like 42. In 42 exercises, our scores were not between 8.2 and 8.8. Our scores went from 5.8 to 9.6, just to inform you. This is an example of an exercise, and I want to show it. When you cannot watch it properly, please go to the STS, because for me, this is a full box. And it's age related, and the music was well used. Everything I'm looking for in artistry, it was there. It was 11 to 16, but it was great. I also want to say to remember, when you do a lot of arm movements, it doesn't make a great choreography. You know, that's almost aerobics. That's not what we are doing. So when you don't see the exercise well, go and watch, and otherwise enjoy. So no stops, not in the climbing, not in the exits, and very original.
Rosie, we have no music. Rosie, I don't know if you could hear me. We have no music. We cannot hear anything.
Okay, so I will not play the next exercises. I had another example for a men's four, but please look at it. The exercise of the trio, I will deduct, no, not, I will not give the full for synchronization because there was one part where they were not really synchron. But for all the rest, I don't know where I should not give them the points because in partnership, it's there in, you know, in expression, in performance, in creativity. This is for me how an exercise for 11 till 16 should look. It's just great. So when I have to give a score for this one, it will be a 9.6 to 9.7. And I'm sorry, not an 8.9 or a 9. Not. That's a level below. Also, this exercise, it will be a little bit lower because the difference in the partnership, but they still will score a 9.2 to 9.4 without any doubt. So I will not play it because when you don't have music, then it's not good. Also, this is a 13-19 mixed pair. It's only a part of the exercise, only choreography, but that's what I meant with, you know, amplitude in all the movements. You have to watch it carefully. It's really great. So do that, please. This part, I'm gonna play because music is not part of it. Coming to the floor. Every time, you know, it's not about points, but we have to make progress. Coming to the floor must be the shortest way, no walking around the floor, and it must be in a very relaxed way. We don't want the marching on, and we don't want greetings. It's old-fashioned. Please, we don't need that. This is a good example, but I will show you afterwards bad examples. So just, you come on the floor, start position, finished. Yeah? So that's what I want. That's what we want in the TC. We don't want the marching on and we don't want the greetings. This is an example what we don't want to see. Please not. So, and then they present, and then there is greeting, and then they take the start position. So not the marching on, we don't want, the greetings we don't want, the presenting we don't want. Also, the next one is an example of what we don't want to see. It's not necessary. Look, all this movement with the head for the boys. My God, no, we don't want that. That's not necessary. Just let them walk on very relaxed, not with all the extras. Also this one. So that was like a small choreography already. So you had all the head movements in waterfall presentation when they step on the floor, and then they present, then they do, you know, the whole thing with the arms to get in the position before they start. This is a good example. He's just coming to the floor like he goes to an apparatus. That's what we want. They arrive and start. That's all it needs. So no marching on, no greeting, no presenting. I don't know how many times I have to say that. We asked that already from years ago. Our athletes representatives spent hours at the podium training to talk to all the coaches, to all the gymnasts, that they don't have to march on, that they cannot present, that it has to be straight to their place. So please talk to your choreographers and to your coaches, because that's what we want. So I'm sorry, I'm 20 minutes late already. Are there urgent questions that we can ask, answer now quickly?
There's just a few questions regarding the exam in artistry.
Okay.
Do you expect the judges to use the new system?
I will tell you how I did it with the TC. I explained this new system, the way I see it, how we should, the direction we should go. So I presented to my TC members. We talked like 10 minutes about it. Then they took their judging papers and we start judging all 42 exercises. So it's not like we have different papers or we use different papers. It's just when you have a few times, read a few times those questions, you can just apply it when you have your judging paper. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficulty. So but it's how you also have a bigger range in your scores. And they don't have to calculate. Also, be aware you only have 2 minutes to transfer what you have on your judging paper to on your screen. And when you don't submit in time, you have nothing. So being in time is much more important than to have a difference of 0.1.
Because the question is, judging like this, there are some impossible scores. Like when you have 3 questions of 0.3, you cannot have a score of 2.
Oh my God, I know it's only on 0.9, but yes. Don't tell me that that's going to make the difference.
No. The question is that, for example, when you have only 3 questions, for example, 1.8 is an impossible score by calculation, the mathematical calculation. That's the question that the judges are raising.
Maybe in creativity you have the 0.2s and you have 0.1s in several others. So
yeah, but when you have 3 questions of 0.3, for example, and you can give only 0.3 and 0.1. You can have 1.7, but not 1.8.
Yeah, you know,
or 1.9. So the
yes.
question is, do we
Yeah,
have
no.
to do it like this or not?
No, we're not going to be that strict. That's going to come with when we have an electronic system. It's just a direction that I wanted to give first to my TC and now to the judges to better evaluate choreography and to make a difference between great choreography and people who are just bringing a beautiful dance. I'm sorry, we give a lot of points on high difficulty, and when people don't perform the difficulty, they don't get the points. We give points for execution. When there is high and good execution, they get high scores, and when others do poor execution and they fall, they have a very low execution score. When we judge artistry, there must also be the difference. That's what we need to do. And I'm not talking about countries. I'm not talking about choreographers. I'm talking about what we see on the floor. Do they catch me? Is it, you know, am I excited? Do I have fun? Sometimes I'm really happy and I think, oh my God, this exercise I want to see again. It's so great. And there's other exercise where I think, my God, 2 minutes 30 is a long time. So I have to see that in the points, that's all. And I've tried with these questions to give a direction in how to look at it, that's all.
I think maybe it's a different tool to work better with artistry. It's a help.
Yes, that's the only thing I wanted to give, a tool. Yes, a way in how you look at that. So, and like I said, we only looked at the 5 slides with the TC, and then they start judging all the exercises. We didn't spend time to train it or to, no, they didn't. So I can tell you that with my, and they are my witness. 4 of them are here present. They all did it. So when I'm lying, they will tell you, believe me, I know them.
One thing, you have 1 minute for artistry and 1 minute for execution to give in your score, not 2.
Oh, not 2.
So
I'm sorry.
it's
Only
2 for the
1
judge.
minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
The 2 is only for the 2.
Yes. The 2 minutes, it's only for D2. It's
Yeah.
only 1 minute for execution and 1 minute for
For
artistry.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
60 seconds, that's all you have. So you need to do everything while the video is running on your paper, and the moment the video is gone, you have to start dealing with the giving your scores or whatever in this in your computer.
Yeah.
Don't wait, because you're gonna be too late. I was too late the first exercise completely. So it was gone, and the next exercise was already there before I even finished to give in my score. So for the execution, I want to say that at this moment, I don't know what it's going to be, the deduction or the score, but they will indicate it. They will indicate it. That's what Steve now also give as an order to Doc, to put above this interface, just, you know, like the calculator where you use to give in your scores. It will say enter score or enter deductions. Pay attention. We're gonna be in line with the other disciplines, but your screen will tell you if it's deductions or if it is score. Okay. One of my TC members, do you want to say something extra to the candidates? Because you guys also did the test.
Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck and use your time wisely. Please don't don't hesitate. You don't have the time. You really don't have the time. It's quite fast that you have to enter your score.
This is very, very similar like during competition. We have
Yes.
shorter time. We
Yes.
try to do short.
Yeah. Because you know it's the normal judges you score have to be in quite fast because the CJP need to work also a little bit together with the DJs. They have to enter their scores and everything has to be finished inside 2 minutes for dynamic and 2 minutes 30. So and the CJP still have to work with the secretary before he can start again. So there is no time also in competition. So that's why it is what it is. It's only 1 minute for execution and 1 minute for artistry.
And judges have a rest after the difficulty exam.
Yes, D1, you do your D1 and D2 exam immediate after each other. There's no break. But then you have a break of 15 minutes to go to the toilet, to take 15 deep breaths, and then you have to take your judging papers for artistry and then for execution. So it's 10 exercises for artistry and it's 15 for execution. So make sure you have enough judges' papers to judge.
Thank you very much, Rosie.
Thank you. Just the one question, Rosie. You told about the points because you told before about the points which they candidates receive from D1, D2, from execution for each exercise they can get.
Every exercise is on 10 points. 10 points. And every exercise we judged, again, also there it's not perfect. Our scores are not perfect and we gave a tolerance. So example, one exercise, it's 8.5 to 8.8. So 8.5, 8.6, 8.7 and 8.8 is 10. And then when you go out of that, it's going down with 0.1. So an 8.4 is a 9 and an 8.9 is a 9. And when you go more out, it's going down or up, you know? It's by the table you can see in your specific judges rules how the system is working. So, but we have a tolerance for every exercise. And once more, it's a pass or fail. But every exercise is on 10. So the total of D is on 150, 50 for D1 and 100 for D2. A exam is on 100, 10 exercises on 10, and execution is on 150, 15 exercises on 10. So
that's it.
Oh,
very logical.
So I think we are close to the end now.
Yeah, I think so. I see that there are in total 45, but I hope I think that many questions are already answered, and the ones who are not answered, please send them to your national federation because they have to send it to me by Saturday. So, and then we will answer as much as possible. We as a TC tried really hard to give as much information as possible on this platform. I hope you all figured out how the platform is working. It's not only the PowerPoints, go also in TC content to examples, because there are the sets of difficulty judging. You have a few exercises, but you have a lot of tariff sheets. So please do that because it will help you a lot with your exam. So make sure you find everything. Also the tariff sheets, you always have at the side, at the right side, the answer. So when you click on that, you can see what you should have seen, what you should have found. So when you don't find something, you can always contact me or one of my TC members. You know, we published their email addresses, especially for that, in the last newsletter of the previous cycle, number 16. So there you can find our email addresses, so you can contact us. But questions on the code of points or the tables of difficulty, you have to send in through your federation. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Rosie. I would like really to thank you for the time you have spent with everybody to go back to the new rules. I also would like to thank all the TC from FIG for all the hard work, all the time that you're spending with us, and all the time that you will spend within the next few days to answer all these questions.
So no stupid questions, please.
No, one question, because I don't hear, do you mention that there will be one possibility to make, how to say, when they felt they can do the one.
There will be one retest, and that will be probably in April, not before.
Yes, but just to answer the last.
Yes.
From the question.
Yes, there will be one retest for people who are sick, missed the test, even big problems. I just take the example now, Kazakhstan. We don't know how the internet is going to work there. So sometimes they don't have internet at all at this moment. So they have the option to take the test then later. So thank you all for being with us, and so many. So at certain point we had a lot of people attending. So now it's still 200. So we had almost 300 attending this seminar, this webinar. So thank you again. Please thank Farid for, in my name, to supporting always acrobatic, and I'm really happy that I could give the webinar in the 5 continents, so I could give all the information to everyone around the world who attended this webinar. So good luck and all the best, and hope to see you soon live, because I hate all this computer and I really want to give you all a hug. So all the best, good luck with your exam, do well, because we need you as a judge, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you.
And if you want to review, you can go on the YouTube channel of European Gymnastics.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.